Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Guys, I want to talk about some information that was brought to my attention yesterday via an email, actually. A viewer sent me an email asking me to take a little look at this over on Reddit. And some absolute boss has gone over all the potential illegal practices that Infold has been delving in over the past couple of weeks since 1.5 launched. Obviously, you know the issues. If you don't know the issues since 1.5 dropped, guys, check out some of my previous videos. We kind of went through a bunch of them. There's a lot. It seemed to just keep getting worse. This isn't necessarily so much about the continuation of the issues with Infinity Nikki, but this is more about an awesome community starting to come together and actually attempt to hold the corporation, the company who serve them, to the fire. You know, try and hold them to responsibility. And this is really, really good to see. This is what we like to see from gamers, actually standing up for themselves and for the community as a whole. We're not going to read every single part of this. There is a TLDR at the bottom that we're going to read through. But basically, this is just kind of going over all the potential regulations that have been breached and how you can go about reporting them to the local authority in the region that you're from and maybe attempt to get something done about this, because we know that Infold have been messing up. They've also been denying compensation for people who've had issues, telling them to log into other devices, and then getting back to them saying, actually, that was a mistake, but then closing the tickets after 12 hours for people, so they actually can't even get through to sorting out the compensation. Taking 4 to 5 days to reply to some people, but leaving the ticket open for them for 12 hours after emailing them in the middle of the night for some people that we've seen on Reddit and in other places as well. So this is from SpiderB8, so shout out to SpiderB8 over on the Infinity Nikki subreddit, who's just got into an in-depth breakdown of all of the potential breaches going on here, guys, okay? So we're not going to go through all of these. We'll have a look at a couple of them, but we're going to have a little look at the TLDR at the bottom here, guys, okay? Courtesy of ChatGPT, that's just kind of put it all into a little bit more of a condensed read here for us, so we don't have to go through the entire thing. But what I will do, guys, I'm going to leave a link to this subreddit, to this post in the subreddit, okay? And you guys can go check it out, and if you've been affected, you can report it and do something about it, right? The one thing as gamers we are really good at is complaining about issues and then continuing on banging our head against a wall. The definition of insanity, doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. You may actually have an opportunity to change that here and actually do something different and maybe even change the outcome. I think if enough people do this, things will change, right? Things will change. So let's have a little look at the TLDR here. One, false discount pricing, e.g. $50 bathtub markdown to $9.99, which we know there was never any discount, right? United States FTC Act Section 5, 15 USC 45A declares deceptive practices illegal. FTC pricing guides 16 CFR. You cannot advertise a former price unless it was genuinely offered for a substantial time. This is a classic false reference pricing. We've seen companies do this all the time. It's down 75%, but it was never marked up at a price prior to that anyway. That's just the price it was sold at, and you're blagged into thinking you're getting a really good deal and it's about to go back up to that price, but it was never set at that price. Absolutely diabolical from the from the company, really there. It's nothing new. It's not the end of this sort of practice, but you can help stop this happening again in the game by obviously reporting it if you're in the US to the FTC. In the EU, Unfair Commercial Practices Directive Article 6D prohibits misleading price claims, including false price advantages. Omnibus Directive 2022 requires businesses to show the lowest price in the last 30 days when advertising discounts. So obviously, if something was $20, it's now $9.99. You need to show it and show the fact that it actually was at a price to that prior, not just that somehow it's 75% off when it was never that previous price again. We can look at the daily gem packages unusable due to unplayable update. Now, this is one I was mentioning before. Some people obviously buying passes, things that you get each day, not being able to get onto the game, and then obviously being like, well, I've spent money now, I can't log into the game. And the mail they got back was, sorry, that's your fault, should have logged in on another device, we can't compensate you for it. And then getting reply messages afterwards to say, actually, that was a mistake. Weird that they came back for some people after that. after these conversations started to go around, right? So this is why I'm posting this. Again, a viewer asked me to talk about this, to kind of push it out there, because I think this needs to be pushed out there, right? This is where the community can actually do some good, and I think it's worth talking about. And as I said, they came back to people to say, sorry, we made a mistake, and then closing the tickets on people anyway within 12 hours. Getting emails, I saw people getting emails at like 4 in the morning. You know, they get back from work, go to open the ticket to check, to maybe reply, ticket's closed. So yeah, again, just playing slimy buggers, really. Article 13, if the trader fails to comply, the content, European Digital Content Directive. No, sorry, we go down to the gem, sorry. No, where are we? There we go. I lost where I was. Daily gem packages unusable due to update. United States FTC Act, Section 5, failure to deliver paid digital goods in an unfair and deceptive act. If digital goods can't be accessed or delivered, sellers must notify and offer a refund or obtain consent for delay, which they didn't. We know that. For the European Union, you've got the Digital Content Directive. Article 7, digital content must function as described throughout the contract. Article 13, if the trader fails to supply the content, the consumer may terminate the contract. Article 16, upon termination, the consumer must be refunded for the non-functional portion of the service. So, i.e., if you've paid for a pass that was supposed to last 30 days, and for 10 of those days you weren't able to access it, they have to compensate you or offer you a refund for the days that you were unable to access the service, which we know initially that they weren't doing. They were basically telling people to just go whistle Dixie, which again breaks the Digital Content Directive and the FTC Act Section 5 as well. Then we've got the 3, hidden drop rate weighting accessories more likely than dresses/hair. United States FTC Act, misleading consumers about gacha odds in a deceptive practice. Disclosure guide requires clear and conspicuous disclosure of material information like item odds. Back-end weighting not disclosed equals deceptive. Now, again, if people do get involved with this enough, guys, we saw what happened with Hoyo. We saw what happened with the FTC and Genshin. They went after them. They had to pay a fine, and they've had to adjust the game to show pricing rates and how things work and the actual exact prices of individual items within the game. This is going to follow on to other games, right? They went after Hoyo and Genshin because it's the big dog in the space. This is done usually with regulators to try and get the others to follow suit without having to go in individually after every single corporation in the space, or attempting to force laws. They enact a regulation, they sue, and then they get everybody to kind of fall in line. It's a hard power move, really. So again, since that's happened, these guys want to really be on on their tippy toes, walking on eggshells. So definitely report this to the FTC if you're in NA. And then we got to the European Union, the Unfair Commercial Practices Directive. Failing to disclose unequal probabilities is misleading omission. Digital Content Directive of 2019. Gacha mechanics that don't match user expectations may violate conformity requirements. And then we've got this here with a bunch of links for all of these guys. As I say, I'm going to link this down below because you've got the links for the FTC, the EU consumer rights links, and then you can report a problem via Google and via Apple here. So you can directly go to the service providers, the platforms of a game like Infinity Nikki, if you're on mobile as well, to report issues directly to the service providers also. And it's just insane, again, that it's got to this, right? It is actually ridiculous. As I say, we've got a community here that is attempting to make things happen, right? They're attempting to make things happen. And I've got nothing but respect for this, you know? As I say, as gamers, we spend a lot of time screeching from the rooftops about company bad. And then, as I say, we log back in the next day, we continue to play, and then after the anger's dropped down a little bit, we go spend again. You know, a lot of us do it. Not everybody, but a lot of us do it, until it gets to that point where we just end up quitting the game, and they make a crap ton of money anyway, then release another money, and they continue to do it over and over again. This is how you stop that. This is how you break the wheel, right? This is how you become Daenerys. Maybe not burn the city of King's Landing down, right? Spoiler if you haven't watched it, don't worry about it anyway. The fucking show shit at the end. Amazing before that, but shit at the end. But yeah, this is how you break it. You know, this is how you attempt to stop things. If enough people report this to their authority in the local area, something might happen, right? If this gets to the right desk of the right person, that might be pushed through the right political body and potentially have the people involved making action, right, to one, make sure it doesn't happen in the future, but for two to really compensate people who've been affected already, right? It's not just about the future now. This is one of those situations where it's like, okay, you want things to be better in the future, but you've got a situation here where people spent money and potentially lost out. Not just because of the typical gacha stuff, not just because of, oh, it's a skill issue, bro. This is literally them taking your money and, not giving you the service. Not because they've refused the service, because they've had issues, but then saying, well, that's a you problem. You paid us already. We're sorry we couldn't provide the service, but we also can't provide a refund or compensate you for the loss of your cash and not getting anything back. So, as I said, this was sent to me by a viewer via email, and I thought it was only right actually to talk about this. Again, it's not necessarily more problems in the game, if I can even get my words out. This is just the gamers taking action and doing something about this, and this is really good to see. So more power to the people doing this, guys. As I said, there's going to be links. Go check them out. Check all the links at the bottom of the thread as well, and all the links for the EU, for the NA section, and you can maybe make your voice heard properly and get some change. Anyway, guys, if you found this informative, give it a like. If you've enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new. All that good stuff, and I'll catch you later.